So one of the first things that we gotta address when it comes to mental illness is that one of the foundational things that you have to define is you have to understand the fundamentals of how the spiritual realm works. And everything that we call stress and burdens and every other symptoms, even diseases, even sicknesses, everything is tied to the spiritual realm. For example, arthritis is tied to unforgiveness. That's just one example. So everything is tied to the spiritual realm in the sense of the baggage that we hold on the inside. Unforgiveness is tied and connected to bitterness. And bitterness in and of itself is tied to symptoms that make you feel on the inside depressed, right? So clinically speaking, you'll get a diagnosis from a psychologist or a doctor, and it'll address and it'll mask with medication. It'll mask it, it'll numb the stuff. But all of the symptoms that I dealt with once upon a time, for example, many of you know my testimonies. I was diagnosed by a doctor: schizophrenic, bipolar, psychotic, and manic depressive. These are the 4 things that I was diagnosed by a doctor. I was given prescription pills in order to help me with the voices in my head. Now, lo and behold, behind the scenes, I was living a very reckless, lawless life, full of drugs, full of what they consider the party life. Lawlessness would abound in my life. Day and night, I was trained up to doing the wrong thing. So I got really good at doing the wrong thing because I was winning favor and respect out on the streets. The more bad you did, the more points you would get on people's scoreboard. They would respect you more, they would like you more, they'll give you more, all of this stuff. I was playing to the devil's hand. I was at that time, I was a disciple of the devil and I didn't even know it. I was a son of the devil and I didn't even know it. I never vowed to the devil. I never made any covenants with the devil. But by my offerings of my daily life, of everything I was putting out there, you can trace it back, the fruit. You can say, oh man, yeah, Not only did I do those things, there was pride that went behind it. When you would fight and knock somebody out, there was pride. Yes, I knocked them out. Big smile on my face while I said it. You know what I mean? So it was the heart. It was not just the actions. It was how I perceived everything to be and from what angle I was coming at life from. So then when I was diagnosed all of these things by a doctor, because I was going berserk and crazy and chaotic, my life was in shambles and everything was falling apart, and I would find myself in consequence after consequence, feeling like I was in hell on the inside, consequences with the law, etc. It was very easy to play the victim, right? So easy. Oh man, my life this, my life that. Oh, I feel so this, I feel so that. I suicidal and this and that, because you feel that you don't have control of anything. Everything is happening to you and not for you. And even when I did come up on money, it would never last. I would steal money and then it would never last. It was like holding sand, and the sand would just go right through my fingers. So I did that for some time. We don't learn easy. Like I noticed that, like humans, it takes us a long time to get the revelation, right? We get the same results over and over again, but we continue to do the same thing, knowing what's coming, and then we still do it again and again and again after that. And then, it takes us a lot of blows, a lot of hitting the wall, a lot of dead ends, a lot of like, man, here I go again, here we go again, and then finally it's like, all right, I'm tired, I'm like, this is not working. So I did all of that for many years, and I found out that, a lot of it was a mirage. People don't really care that much about what you do or don't do, what you say or don't say. Like, people care about themselves. That was the revelation I got later on in life. But I was living for people's approval, living for people's honor, their daps, their props, their applaud, and I was living for that. As long as I would live for that, because I thought that they cared so much, right? In my mind, I thought they went to sleep and woke up thinking of me, and they talked about me, and then I had to live up to a reputation. That was the illusion that was playing out in my mind. So mental illness looks like something, and it looks like a delusion, and a person's living a life that is not even based on reality. It's not based and grounded and rooted in truth, and they're doing decisions based off of stuff that is irrational, and they're hurting themselves and they're hurting others, and they're calling themselves a victim all along, all the while, and they're doing sabotaging people, sabotaging themselves. They're doing all kinds of chaos and destruction. They're living in darkness. They're blind, yet they want to lead you. They have advice, but they don't take their own advice. They're people that are angry. So the first thing we gotta do, first and foremost, we gotta define mental illness and what it looks like and why it comes into and knocks on our door in the first place. And very plainly put, a lot of people don't even know what sin is. They hear the word and they attribute it to a religious term, sin. Oh yeah, but sin is like in just latent in a way that you can understand. It's going against your best. How do I put this? I want to put it in such a way where people can understand why it's bad, right? It doesn't benefit you. It doesn't benefit humanity, and yet you do it. Maybe we can define it that way, because that's a way that people can understand. Sin is anything that goes against yourself and others. And obviously, if it goes against yourself and others, it's obviously going to go against God, because God says, love him with all you got and love your neighbor as you love yourself. So God is all about, we know what God is all about: love and serving and not being selfish, but being selfless. And God is all about that, nurturing one another, helping, feeding, clothing, forgiveness, mercy, grace, helping one another up when they fall down, encouraging one another. That's what God is all about. The devil, we know what he's all about: sabotage, chaos, destruction, hate, strife, bullying, murder, stealing, killing, destroying, all that stuff, drugs and alcohol. That's where you're going to find a lot of the demons. That's where they possess people. That's where they get people to do things that are unthinkable. I used to steal the most when I was under the influence, and not just steal, but do things that were very atrocious, and then wake up the next day and feel bad about what the people were telling me that I did under the influence, almost like it wasn't even me, because I had opened up all these doors. So mental illness, in short, is opening up the door to demons coming in, and those demons take habitation in your vessel, and they drive your life, and they have a way of thinking and being that is contrary to how God says to do life. They're manipulators, they're liars, right? That's their native tongue, right? They masquerade everything as fun and pleasure and entertainment, but behind the scenes it's death and darkness and vileness and poison and a lot of hurt and just look at the results, look at the evidence. Don't take my word for it. Look at how people feel afterwards. Look and feel and ask. There's a reason why pride is in the picture. Is because pride doesn't want to talk about what's going on the indoors. Pride is like, nah, everything's cool, man. Nah, I don't need this. Nah, I don't need that. Pride, right? Pride is putting your head up when you feel like putting it down. Pride is all about like showing something that's not really real, but making it look like it is, right? You may be poor, but you want to pride, like, man, let me show, like, that I got it going on, right? So Jesus is all about, like, bring me what you got. How broken are you? How, that's fine. Come. Because Jesus sat down with the broken. He sat down with the people that needed a doctor. He sat down with the sick. And he was just real with them. He's like, hey guys, this is not the way. And they were like, so what's the way? I am the way. And then he broke it down in a way where they can understand. He's like, this is how you do life. This is how you do life. And he's like, if you lend to somebody, like, there's a way to live life where you don't have any attachments. There's a way that you don't have any connections to everything, to the outcome, because everything is free, right? So, like, I don't need you to ask me for forgiveness for me to forgive you. It's free. I give it because I don't want ties to the bitterness that flows through that connection of the offense. And so that's going to be coming on me if I don't forgive. So I cut that flow and I forgive you without you even asking me. And so forgiveness is more for me than it is for you in that sense. And so there's a way to live where I can lend you money, and even if you do me wrong, I don't have to be offended by it, because in my heart I'm so free that wisdom leads me to know what humanity is like in the first place. And if I give this money to you, it's because if I lend you this money or give it to you, it's because internally I ought to understand what can happen and be okay with the results. So if I lend you money, I wisdom should tell me, hey, there's a probability they're not going to give this back. Are you okay with losing it? Or is the relationship here on the line? Or are you going to become like one of these people that want to chase them down and hurt them because they didn't pay you back? Well, no, I'm okay. They're in need, right? And I know them. And even if they don't pay me back, I'm willing to lose this money, because I know in my heart of hearts they might not be able to pay me back, because if they're asking me for money, it's because they're possibly not in a good financial place to pay me back later, right? Some people are borrowing from this person to pay that person, and how they're going to pay you, and they're indebted, right? So what a life it is to live free of all this conditional love. That's why God loves us unconditional, agape love, where it's like, you need money, here you go. If you pay me back, great. If you don't pay me back, no harm, no foul, right? Because it was my decision to do it in the first place. And I decided that when I gave you this money, you don't have to tell them this, but you can know it in your heart, and you can be wise enough to say, when I give you this money, I'm not going to get mad if you don't pay me back. I love you, and I do it out of love. Here you go. So now the money's in their possession, right? You're moving on, right? Mental illness looks like making a mountain out of a molehill, right? Because they don't have control over their feelings or emotions. They don't, right? I don't want to over exaggerate what mental illness is. Mental illness is a real thing, right? But it basically, we need to be stable human beings. We need to be grounded and rooted. We need to be centered. We need to be honest with ourselves. We need to be, and I mentioned in my last video, less is more. Less on your plate is more. And what that means is that the less entanglements you have with this world, right? This is not my home as an example. My home is in heaven with God, right? And so my mind is focused on God, right? My heart is focused on God, right? And so when these things in this world and the things that people really put value up on this world, I know the difference between needs and wants. I know the difference between desire and say like obligation, right? Like there's all these different things. Like some people may want something, right? How do I put this where I can bring it home and kind of like, when, like, back to the original example, like when I lend money, like that's not my treasure. Like I don't value that the way I value Jesus. So my relationship with Jesus, because that's my value system, when that money goes out, I would never trespass my relationship with the Lord and go against what he would have me to kind of how he would have me to be. Like I would move accordingly to character. Character matters to me so much. So like I would not step out of character in order to gain some kind of treasure here on earth, because that's not my value system. My value system is with the Lord. I hope that makes sense to you. But according to where people's value system are, that's what they're going to defend, and that's what they're going to fight for, etc. So in this world, I know the difference between, I need to pay bills, then I won't lend money because I can't, because I need to pay bills, and that's part of responsibility and be a good steward. But character steps in and understands the different dynamics. So hopefully this is making sense to you. So then this is very crucial, because a lot of people get themselves in problems when they overextend themselves further than they can go, and they can't do it, but they do it, and then they find themselves why they're in the position. It's because you were irresponsible with what you had, and you weren't supposed to do that, and now you find yourself in a stressful situation. And we need to mature, and we need to get better. This goes with finances, it goes with relationships. There's got to be boundaries in relationships. There's got to be structures, and there's got to be times and seasons, and there's got to be everything. That's how life is ordained to be, and where it fluctuates and how it flows freely and good and right. But when there is a free-for-all, and that's the way that the devil likes to run, a free-for-all. Do whatever you want. Drive against oncoming traffic. There is no traffic laws here. There is no nothing. There is no flow here. Like, anything goes, right? Treat people the way you treat people any which way, not the way you want to be treated, but treat people any which way. Be selfish, and never deposit into anybody. Only make withdrawals from everybody. Like, this is a recipe, and I could go down the line, but this is a recipe for living a lonely life. A lonely life, because nobody's going to want to be around you. Nobody's going to want to pick up that phone call when you call, when all you're doing is making withdrawals from their life. Relationships are meant to be deposits and withdrawals, right? So again, I can make this video very long, but I'm going to go take care of myself right now in the gym. And this is part of where you put there's a time for everything. There's a time to make a video. There's a time to put it down. There's a time to go, and then there's a time. So you got to do that, man. You got to do that, right? And all of that is tied to the mind, right? Structure, discipline, self-control, character, understanding, right? So vital.